My entitled toxic ex-boyfriend secretly used the flight and hotel that I had paid for that we were going to use to go to Iceland together. So I decided to get some revenge by canceling his return flight home. And now as a result, his entire family has turned against me. And at this point, I really don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so pretty much, my ex-boyfriend broke up with me a month before moving in and 3 weeks before an Iceland trip I planned for us because apparently I was emotionally draining because I was still struggling with some things that he had done to me before we started dating officially. Not to mention the fact that I also got a really scary message from his ex when we started dating saying that he would love bomb me and then leave me. And you know what? He treated me really great for the first few months of our relationship. He took me to Hawaii, he booked a trip to Japan for us next May, he got me a nice promise ring, he told his family that he would marry me and that they wanted us to get married in December. He even wrote me a card 5 days before breaking up with me about how I was the love of his life and that we were getting married soon and I was his forever and nothing would ever get in our way. Well, after a bad week of breakdowns and anxiety attacks about the past, he called me and broke up with me, yelling at me over the phone as I cried and pleaded how he promised to give me as much time as I needed to get over it. I was devastated, but I tried to be understanding, and I reached out to him multiple times to discuss what to do about the trip, as well as to arrange a time to pick up my things. Well, he didn't respond to any of my messages or give me any direct answers, and I didn't know what was going to happen with the trip that we had planned together. Well, without telling me, he decided to go on the trip alone, using the flight and the hotel that I had paid for. I wasn't even given a chance to go, and now I'm left carrying the full cost of what was meant to be a shared experience. I feel hurt and taken advantage of. This trip was supposed to be something we'd experience together, not a solo vacation for him on my dime. Emotionally and financially, this has been incredibly hard for me. It feels like my kindness and generosity were taken advantage of, and I'm left with all the expenses and none of the experience. I told him how he had 24 hours to figure something out with me, and I even reached out to his mom as we are extremely close, pleading that this has been really hard for me, but in the end, neither of them answered me. Now, everyone told me I should just cancel his return flight, so you know what? That's exactly what I did. I wrote him a huge long message explaining how the situation made me feel, because every other message before that had been me being nice and wanting to work things out, but him going on the trip that I paid for really changed my opinion on the whole ordeal. As a result, his entire family blocked me, plus he blocked me as well, with his little sister even texting me saying that she thinks I'm crazy. So am I the jerk for canceling my ex's return flight after he went on this trip on my dime? Because right now I really don't know what to do. Oh man, this is really sketchy because that guy is a massive loser. First of all, you should have canceled that stuff the second he broke up with you. Like that would have been the first thing I did, because this guy did exactly what his ex said he would do. He pretended to love you for several months, he took you all over the world and professed his love for you, and then he dropped you off with no remorse. And then on top of that, he took this trip overseas without you, basically deciding that he's gonna do this whether you like it or not. Like that's crazy in my opinion, and that is so uncalled for. So no, you're not the jerk in this situation, and the fact that your ex-boyfriend would do this in the first place, in my opinion, is unbelievably toxic. If you like Am I the Jerk, you're probably going to love Am I the Genius. Check it out, link down below in the description. Also, go to amithejerk.com/submit if you would like to submit your own stories. Am I the jerk for refusing to hand over my grandmother's jewelry to my cousin, who claims that she's the rightful heir to it, regardless of what my grandmother's will states? Because right now, after telling her no, my family is split down the middle, putting me in a position where honestly, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so my grandmother passed away last year, and she left me a beautiful jewelry collection in her will. Growing up, I was very close to her, and we spent countless weekends together where she would let me try on her pieces. It always felt like our little thing. So when she left them to me, I was deeply touched. But this is where things get a little bit more complicated. My cousin, let's call her Emma, insists that my grandmother verbally promised her the collection years ago, even though there's no mention of her in the will. Emma claims that the jewelry is hers by right because she was the oldest grandchild and used to model the pieces during family events when she was younger. She's even told everyone that my grandmother's decision must have been a mistake or made under pressure. Emma called me last week demanding I hand the jewelry over to honor what she says was my grandmother's real wish. When I said no, she called me selfish and accused me of stealing what was meant for her. My family is now divided, with some people saying that I should just give Emma a few pieces to keep the peace, and others telling me to hold my ground because the will was clear. Emma is now posting passive-aggressive messages on social media, making me out to be the villain. I feel terrible because I don't want to cause family drama, but I also believe believe my grandmother knew exactly what she was doing when she left the collection to me. So am I the jerk in this situation? What should I do? Okay, this story is really upsetting for a few reasons, but mostly it's the way that Emma is treating you and tried to make herself out to be the victim in this situation. For starters, no, you're definitely not the jerk. And if I was in your place, I would be holding my ground. Like, Emma is never getting a single piece of jewelry as long as I'm alive. And the fact that any family member is like, oh, just give her a few to make her happy, or even implying that you might be the problem in this scenario, in my opinion, is so toxic it's not even funny. These people are literally enabling Emma's awful behavior by being like, oh, come on, if you just give her a few pieces of jewelry, she'll calm down. But it's like, no, Emma's trying to scam you out of something that was left in the will for you specifically. Like, this verbal agreement means nothing. It's in writing that this goes to you. And please, don't get it twisted. You're not causing any kind of drama. You didn't start this. This is all Emma just stirring up the pot. She's just mad that she didn't get the jewelry that her grandmother had, and now she's taking it out on you as if it's your fault. But here's the facts. The grandma clearly didn't like Emma enough to give it to her, so she gave it to you instead. And from the sounds of it, it has a better home with you than it will ever have with Emma. She would probably sell it off the second she has it and make a quick buck. So no, you're not the jerk because in my opinion, Emma sounds incredibly entitled. Today, I got to yell at a customer who was treating my servers like garbage, as she didn't realize that I was the owner of the restaurant that she was eating at. And I've honestly never felt better to snap at someone like that because this was something I don't get to do that often. Here's what happened. Okay, so I'm the owner and general manager of this restaurant, and yesterday, a couple came in just before the dinner rush arrived, and the woman of this couple was being difficult from the moment they arrived. They order food, and the woman got upset when they brought it all out at the same time. Apparently, she wanted the soup first, then the basket of fries, and then the other appetizers that they ordered. So it's like, alright, that's not the end of the world. It had gotten busy, so we were able to use the food items to sell other tickets up to that moment. Then, approximately 20 minutes later, I brought out their remade appetizer and fries, and before I even had a chance to set the food down on the table, this woman was irritated. She insisted the food was not hot and had been sitting back there. I assured her that no, it definitely had not, and I watched and instructed the kitchen crew to remake the items, so they definitely are very hot. She then stuck her fingers in the food and said, see, it's not hot, it's warm, but it's not sizzling. I said to her, ma'am, I assure you these items were made moments ago for you. They are fresh. She insisted on having them remade, and that's when I completely lost it. I told her if she wanted me to toss this perfectly good food and get another order, then she will be paying for it. She then asked me where I get off thinking that I could speak to her that way, and she said she had a stressful day and was wanting to go out just to eat and relax. I responded by saying, well, I'm actually the owner. I don't care how stressful or difficult your day was. It gives you no right to walk in here and be disrespectful to my staff and then me. So we remade the food again, and I dropped it off at the table and she barely ate any of it, but did end up thanking me because it was definitely hot this time. When the poor server swung by to ask how the appetizers were, I guess the woman told her, well, my husband is acting like he's embarrassed of me, but he knows I'm right. Anyways, they did pay for all of it like I told them they had to, and their server still got a 20% tip. And at this point, I'm now patiently waiting to see if she leaves a review. But honestly, getting to snap back at someone felt really good, but it's not something I get to do very often. Oh man, when I worked in food service, I wanted to do this so many times it's not even funny, dude. Like seriously, some people really suck in the restaurant business. Not just people in the kitchen, but some customers are just absolute nightmares. And the Karen in this story is no exception. She literally came in there with a bad attitude and was ready for some kind of argument. I mean, thank God the owner was one of the people that was helping out that day, because you know for a fact she would have asked for the manager or some kind of higher up just to chew them out. So good for you for putting this Karen in her place, because her attitude, in my opinion, was completely uncalled for. Am I the jerk for asking my mom to stop coming over unannounced to the house that I'm renting from her? Because right now it's making me and my new roommate incredibly uncomfortable. And at this point, I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, so I've lived with my mom for most of my life, but last September, she remarried and moved in with her new husband. He lives 45 minutes away from my area, though my mom and her husband recently bought a house just one street away from mine. However, the new house is still under renovation, so it will be a while before they can live there. Well, here's the issue. For the past 2 months, I've had a new roommate who's also a friend of mine, and things have been going great. My roommate is kind and clean and easy to live with, even though she is a bit shy and takes time to warm up to people. But my mom, who owns the house, has been coming over unannounced. She will hang out in the house without letting us know beforehand, and sometimes even stays overnight, up to 2 nights a week, either on the couch or in the spare bedroom. This feels like a massive invasion of our privacy, especially my roommates. I feel awful for her, because where is it normal for a landlord to just live in the place they're renting out? I love having having my own space, and this constant intrusion is a big reason why I wanted to move out of my mom's house in the first place. The tricky part is that I'm struggling to bring this up with her. We don't have the best relationship, and communicating with her has always been difficult. She's very much the type of person to say it's either my way or the highway. It also feels like I'd be kicking my own mom out, which makes me feel incredibly guilty. To make things even more complicated, my mom set some strict house rules. No drinking, no smoking, no boyfriends staying over, and no big parties. While I personally don't mind these rules, it's hard to find roommates who are okay with them. If my mom wants to keep renting the place and earning money, she needs to understand that she can't act like a live-in landlord. So would I be the jerk if I told my mom she needs to stop staying over at the house and that she needs to give me and my roommate some privacy? What should I do? No, you're not the jerk at all. Like, this is your place. You're renting it from her. For her to be staying overnight for like 2 days a week, or even like coming into your house unannounced, like that is really sketchy and not okay. She needs to understand that this is your space and you can do with it as you please, as long as you're paying the rent and respecting the property. Now, in my opinion, I think her house rules are really stupid, and it seems like she wants to have some kind of control over your life. The smoking and drinking part I can kind of understand, especially the smoking part, because that can like ruin furniture and make the house smell weird, but not being allowed to have your boyfriend over, like that is so weird. For reference, the original poster is 27 years old. They're hardly a teenager, and they're definitely not a kid anymore. So that rule just doesn't make any sense, and honestly, it just seems really out of line. So no, you would not be the jerk for having this conversation, because what she's doing right now, especially when you consider your new roommate, in my opinion, is incredibly inappropriate. My boyfriend's female best friend continues to create tension in our relationship, and after trying to talk to him about this so many different times, I now feel completely lost, as right now I seriously don't know what to do. Here's what happened. I'm a 28-year-old female, and I've been dating my boyfriend for less than a year, and we're currently expecting our first child together. Since early on in our relationship, I've had concerns about his female best friend. I've expressed my discomfort with her multiple times, but he often dismisses or downplays my feelings. At the start of our relationship, I noticed that she would text him and call him at all hours. When I brought it up, it seemed like their communication decreased, but I can still tell that they're in contact. I've told him that I feel like she's not respectful of our relationship. The last time I had an interaction with her, she spent the whole night trying to be by his side, even going as far as touching his arm right in front of me. When he told her that I was pregnant, her immediate reaction was to question if the child was even his. And she's also aware that I know this, but she's never apologized. She continues to seek him out and make plans with him, despite knowing that I don't like her. Recently, my boyfriend mentioned that he's planning something for his birthday, and he wants her to be there. Now, I haven't seen her in months, and I'm worried about keeping my composure if she's there. He told me that she's scared of me and thinks I might try to physically confront her, so it's clear that she knows I don't like her. I've made it clear that she's not invited to the baby shower, but it seems like he's unwilling to exclude her from his birthday celebration. Now, for additional context, they've been friends for about 3 years. When they first met, he had a crush on her, but he claims it's always been platonic between them, and has made remarks basically saying that it wouldn't work out because she is too dramatic in his eyes. He also acknowledged that the previous partner before me didn't like her either, and I'm unsure of what her reasons were, but I can only imagine that she lacked similar boundaries back then as well. So I'm honestly unsure how to handle this. I don't want to make a scene in front of his family, but I also don't know how I'll be able to stay calm. I don't want to give her the satisfaction of skipping his birthday, but honestly, she feels like a third wheel in our relationship. What should I do? Oh man, your boyfriend is absolutely at fault here. This guy is keeping this lady around for some stupid reason, and it's obviously creating tension in your relationship, but it also created tension in his previous relationship. Like seriously, what is this guy's problem? There's a difference between having a friend and someone who is actively antagonistic towards your girlfriend. Like he does know he's about to be a father, right? Like he literally is having a kid with you, and this other lady is like, oh, is that even your kid in the first place? Like what is going on right now? This is so weird to me, because right now it really seems like having this lady as a friend is way more important to this guy than your feelings about this. Like he truly is the problem here, and it honestly is so unfair. So truly, I'm so sorry that you're dealing with this, and hopefully all this gets worked out, because you do not deserve this in the slightest. Am I the jerk for doing things behind my folks' back as I'm trying to save up and get my life in order so that I can eventually move out of their house? Here's what happened. So I'm a woman in my mid-20s, and I'm currently living with my folks. We'll call them Sarah and George. They are in their mid to late 60s, and they took me in when I was a baby due to my mother, their daughter, having issues at the time. When I was younger, my folks were overprotective of me. Due to my mother having run away from home a few times, and being a wild girl by going to parties, drinking, and all the other cliche rebellious stuff, they were afraid that I would do the same, but I wasn't bothered by this. The paranoia over me going to other people's houses did get bothersome at times, but it was fine. Then I started developing my own interests and beliefs, and they were not supportive, as they would commonly tell me to be in the real world, and then when I'd make friends, they would judge them like crazy. I couldn't have ambitions, wanting to one day be a police officer or an artist, anything of that sort. I would hear it all the time where they would say, "You've got to be realistic." They still see me as a child, and it took them far too long to allow me to do anything. So I just started doing things without telling them to not result in conflict. They also have emotionally mistreated me, I think. They insult the way that I laugh, with my weight always being an issue for them, and my preference in clothing. They commonly shout at me for the most petty things, and I still flinch when I hear my name called by somebody. I pay to live in their house, and Sarah has been telling me I'll be staying with them indefinitely, basically saying that I'll get the house someday. Now, I was fine with that at first, so I didn't pay much mind for saving my money, but her attitude got worse though, starting when I was reorganizing my bedroom and locking my door for privacy. She would also get so angry if I took time off of work. I've even slept in my own car in a grocery store parking lot when I took approved time off of work, just so I didn't have to wake up to Sarah storming in and shouting at me. I am really scared of her, I hate to say it, but then I finally made the decision to start doing things for my health. I went to the doctor without telling Sarah or George, and I got a prescription that's been incredible for my health as of late. Then I went to the bank and I opened up a new account that only I can access. I've also been packing away my unnecessary items, like merchandise from games and shows that I like, and I've been looking for houses to learn what I'll need to be prepared for in the future. But overall, am I the jerk for doing all of these things in secret? I am terrified of how they will react when they find out. Inevitably, they'll know I'm moving when it happens, and Sarah probably will attempt to guilt trip me into staying with them. They might have a hard time without me around anymore, and they'll have no trust in me when they uncover the truth. What should I do? No, there is no reason for you to feel guilty about this, and I definitely do not think that you're the jerk here. You're trying to move on with your life. You're in your 20s and you don't want your family treating you like a child anymore. And the fact that you didn't even have your own bank account until recently, like that is really alarming, and I don't blame you for trying to save up and get out of there. So no, you're not the jerk for trying to make this step in your life, because this is a normal step to make. And if Sarah and George have a problem with that, then they quite literally are just gonna have to live with it. Am I the jerk for excluding my dad from my wedding after he decided to ghost me after he found out I got engaged? Because right now I'm really confused and I don't know what to do. Here's what happened. Okay, for a bit of backstory, 2.5 years ago, my older sister got into a really bad marriage, and it included all the horrible things that you can imagine. My dad was very supportive of the marriage and paid for almost everything for her. He picked her up on the wedding day, walked her down the aisle, and gave them a cute little speech. But they ended up getting divorced 6 months later. Well, I just got engaged to my now fiance after a 5-year relationship and a surprise baby, resulting now in a 4-year-old boy. Yep, you read that right. We have had our ups and downs, but we have reached the point of our relationship where everything seems right. Sure, we still have the occasional fight, but nothing serious ever. Maybe he left a trash can somewhere or forgot to load the dishwasher or something stupid. We are really solid, and everyone around us were just waiting for the news of our engagement. We have been calling each other wifey and hubby for years, so this change comes naturally to us. Before the proposal, my fiance had contacted my dad and told him that he would be asking me to marry him. Well, my dad had no comments and just ignored the entire thing. So my fiance contacted my mother instead and got her blessing. He then proposed on a family vacation with his entire family watching, and it really was a special moment. And I, of course, was overjoyed and wanted to share the news to my family immediately. So I texted them all, and again, there was no response from my dad, and that really hurt my feelings. Now, this was almost 3 months ago, and we just started planning our wedding. My sister talked me into going to my dad's house for dinner one night, and I agreed, and not one of them commented on the engagement, the ring, the wedding, how we were doing, or anything like that. In fact, my dad barely looked at me. So I decided to leave early, and once again, I was hurt. And for the first time ever, I didn't hug my dad when I left his house. So a couple days ago, I texted him to let him know that we started planning the wedding and what date, time, and place it was going to be at, and that I, of course, wanted them all to be there. And sure, this was an informal invitation, since they would be getting an actual invitation soon, but again, I got no response. So now, with all things considered, I decided that I don't want him to be a part of my wedding at all. He can be there as a guest, but he will not be asked to do any of the fatherly duties. Well, my family is freaking out about this decision and says I'm overreacting and that I need to give him time. My father-in-law will pick me up on the wedding day and drive me to the church, and he will be the one to walk me down the aisle, and he even promised to give a toast after I talked to him about my dad, because right now I feel betrayed, and I feel like there's a chance he might not show up at all, and I have no clue why. Also, why would he support my sister in her bad marriage and then just completely ignore me? Am I overthinking or overreacting? Should I really just give him time to come around? All of the comments from my family have gotten in my head, and at this point, I really don't know what to do. Honestly, I don't think you're the jerk at all for not wanting your dad to be a part of your wedding. He's clearly giving you the silent treatment, and in my opinion, that speaks volumes to anything he could say or do. He's showing that he doesn't care about you and your wedding, and he's making it obvious that this is not a priority for him, and he's not going to have anything to do with it. So truly, I don't blame you. Like, this sounds like some really immature response to something that you literally have not even done. So no, I don't think you're the jerk, because the way your dad is acting, in my opinion, is completely irrational. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist at the top of the description. And if you want some chill music to put on in the background, check out easymode.com. If you like Am I the Jerk, subscribe to Am I the Genius. Everything will be linked down below in the description.